Hello, Mr. Arriaga. I am Jamal Monroe giving my persuasive speech, and here I go. Have you ever walked into a store and bought something that you've probably been eating for like 20 years or even since you've been a child? Let's say that you've eaten bananas since you're a child, and then suddenly you just notice that bananas have gotten strangely bigger. This isn't your imagination, Mr. Arriaga. This is what you call genetically modified organisms, which is basically genetically modified food, as I would put it. Now, when you go into a store, this isn't just on bananas now. This is on basically almost a lot of foods that we have. And there are websites that we have that determine what genetically modified organisms there are or what GMOs are. Basically, researching this topic has helped me a lot in knowing what GMOs are, and I'm here to say that I do not support genetically modified organisms at all. Today, I'm going to be reaching about how labeling needs to be a factor, about how herbicides and pesticides are becoming very toxic to us because of GMOs, and how GMOs are affecting our environment for the bad. Have you ever walked into a store and saw that your favorite item that you've ever gotten has changed drastically? Well, I would say don't be alarmed, but you should, because of the fact that it's genetically modified organisms. According to Labelit.com, there are currently 64 countries that label their foods to let their citizens know that what they are eating. They don't want their citizens to be unaware of what they're eating, because if there's something does happen, they feel responsible. Unfortunately, in the United States, we are not one of those 64 countries that labels their food. What I am trying to do is I want a lot of us to come together and make a pact to say that we want genetically modified food labeling if they're going to give it to us without our consent anyways. Next on to my things to talk about genetically modified organisms is about the herbicides. Herbicides and pesticides are meant to protect our fruits and vegetables from bugs and pests, basically, but it's to a certain extent. Now, when you're eating but when you are spraying herbicides on weeds, it's very cautious that you do not put it on any plants, because of the fact that if it gets onto a plant, that can harm the plant and kill the plant and drain it of all its essential needs. So when we do this on GMOs, we are actually harming ourselves, because of the fact that herbicides on GMOs are just absorbing the toxins from the chemical of the herbicides. Now, when we eat that, it actually hurts us internally, which could actually cause multiple damages to one of our systems and can cause something to fail. According to Bill Freeman, who is an author of the Environmental Ecology, he states that unfortunately, herbicides and pesticides can kill us if we do have bigger doses of them, enough doses of them. He also says that it's very risky for scientists to be playing with herbicides and pesticides around genetically modified organisms, because when you do mess with genetically modified organisms, you harm the cell structure that is there input. This is also what I was also talking about. This can hurt this can hurt our environment, and it can also hurt us. By inserting pesticides and herbicides into our foods, we increase a high level of toxin that is inside the food. According to Exposure of Environmental Hazards, it states that when we take an exotic gene and put it into a new gene, and we're doing that, we are now changing the cell structure of what was previously there. When we change the cell structure, we technically have no control over what is going to happen. So when we say we have a little banana and we inject some of the GMOs, the genetically modified organisms, inside it, and the banana gets massive or bigger than what I'm used to. This can also be a bad banana because of the fact that there are GMOs that I'm very foreign to, that I've never known about, that are inside this banana. Now, can you die from eating genetically modified organisms from the first time? No, but it can be built up and sustained into your body, and it can enter a level of toxicity in your body. A lot of this information that I'm getting this from is from the author Bill Friedman, from his other book, which is from the Environmental Ecology. Now, I am glad that you could hear some of the things that I spoke about today about genetically modified organisms. I hope a lot of us can come together and see that GMOs do need to be labeled. We do need to see them in stores so that the labelings in stores so that we can know which is which, so we can know from the genetically modified organisms food to the other to the ones that are not even touched by genetics of modifying organisms. And then we also need to control our herbicide use on genetically modified organisms, and we also need to know what the GMOs are harming, how GMOs are harming not just us but our environment around us, and how we need to clean that up as soon as possible. Thank you for taking your time to listen to this, and I hope you have a nice day.